I've actually prepared some good news.
Oh my God, that exists? What is this?
Okay, so like this is just to maybe like a little sorbet, a little cleanser for all the bad news in the world. And I'm glad Felix has joined us for this one because I think you guys are gonna like this one. Headline: Ex Green Beret led failed attempt to oust Venezuela's Maduro.
Oh yeah, this guy rocks.
Yeah, this
This
guy's a
guy.
very cool character.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read it here. This is from courtesy of the AP. It says here, the plan was simple but perilous. Some 300 heavily armed volunteers would sneak into Venezuela from the northern tip of South America. Along the way, they would raid military bases in the socialist country and ignite a popular rebellion that would end in President Nicolas Maduro's.
This is weird. Everybody else getting deja vu. This is reminding me of something. Some sort of event that happened on a beach somewhere involving an animal, some animal, I don't remember. Some sort of livestock.
I can't wait for the Trump Oliver Stone JFK movie. Where it's just it's just the war of the asexual gay guys. It's the good asexual gay guys and the bad ones.
Yes. It's just a bunch. All the bad guys are just bronzed Tommy Lee Joneses standing on the beach.
But so are the good guys.
Yes,
so are the good guys. They're also are that. They're also everyone is like that. Yeah. Everyone is like a non-specific.
Everyone is just an old bitchy queen like Bob Hoskins' J. Edgar Hoover in Nixon, another Oliver Stone movie that's terrified of gay people.
Yeah.
It's like the bad guys will be Tommy Lee Jones dressed like the Roman god Mercury, and the good guys will be Tommy Jones just in a very blousy suit, leaning forward at a very awkward angle.
Yeah,
holding a cigarette weirdly with the holder.
Yeah, and the difference between the two, like the deep state guys who are like that and the good guys who are like that, is like the good guys hate Graydon Carter.
The food restaurant.
Yeah, they think his Oscar party is dog shit. They hate it.
There's a 20-minute just like Dante's Inferno-esque tour of just the hell world of a Graydon Carter Oscar party.
Yeah.
And it's depicted in just Stygian nightmare imagery.
Yeah, like James Jesus Angleton is like, we had to keep Graydon Carter's Oscar party a secret because he was actually served onion rings there. It was a huge embarrassment. The deep state had to hide it. CIA had to hide it. That's why we had to assassinate the president.
And because it's Oliver Stone, this will be the Graydon Carter Oscar party sequence will be sort of like interspersed with edited in footage of like, I don't know, the My Lai massacre.
Yeah.
That famous photo of the Vietnamese child running from napalm attack.
And don't forget homoerotic weightlifting.
Yeah.
Clips from Triumph of the Will, and then like a few clips of like a sort of like a Native American like rain dance ceremony.
Yeah. Oliver Stone has done a lot for the Native American community by just randomly putting them in his movies and being like, "Oh, did you think about that?"
The royalties from all those film reels that he edited in, I'm sure, is helping out. All right, so going on here from this sort of pseudo Bay of Pigs operation here, it says the ringleader of the plot is now jailed in the U.S. on narcotics charges.
Oh, what?
Wait, are you telling me?
Wait a minute.
Am I led to believe
Hold on.
Some shady right-wing mercenary that we've employed to overthrow a socialist government in South America is also involved in drug trafficking?
That does not make sense.
Now, brother, now I've seen everything. So it says here, is now in jail in the U.S. on narcotics charges. Authorities in the U.S. and Colombia are asking questions about the role of his muscular American advisor, a former Green Beret.
Yeah, this is the guy I love.
Yeah.
Fucking Pete Bondurant over here.
Yes, Tiger Camp.
Yeah.
This is like a James Ellroy.
This is Ellroy as shit, yes.
Yeah. Here's my favorite detail here. It says,
this is soy James Ellroy.
You didn't go with James Ellsoy? It was right there. You just left it on the ground.
You picked it up, though. You picked it up, though, so it all worked out.
So here's my favorite detail. It says, and dozens of desperate combatants who flocked to secret training camps in Colombia said they have been left to fend for themselves amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Damn.
You join a right-wing death squad, and then you don't even get PPE. I mean, what the fuck? Do we care? Do we care about nothing? Do we value nothing anymore?
They should form a union.
Form a union and then all blow each other's brains out. They should all form a union and then kill each other. They should all commit suicide after joining a union.
Well, then just join one of those grad student unions. That's very similar. Like,
it says here, the failed attempt to start an uprising collapsed under the collective weight of skimpy planning, feuding among opposition politicians, and a poorly trained force that stood little chance of beating the Venezuelan military. You were not going to take out Maduro with 300 hungry, untrained men, said Ephraim Matos, a former U.S. Navy SEAL who trained some of the would-be combatants in first aid. Well, okay, that's... you're saying you're not going to take out Maduro with all these untrained men, says the guy who trained them. No? Maybe it's your fault, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Look, hold on a minute.
That's a real cell phone there.
Have you been considering that this particular ex-Green Beret has only been up for 4 hours and his back is hurt?
Well, this is a Navy.
This is very, very poor.
Well, the Green Beret in the story is just like awesome. He's just like an insane liar. He's just an insane liar. But the guy we just talked to is a Navy SEAL, so we can presume that during the time the Navy SEAL was supposed to be training the hapless defectors, he was just like literally just pickpocketing them.
Yeah,
because there's nothing the Navy SEAL loves more than larceny. The Green Beret loves lying. There are two things the Green Beret loves. It's lying and dying.
Eat hot chip and lie.
Lying and dying.
Yeah.
Usually murdered by SEAls when they uncover their crimes.
Yeah, Green Berets show up in the war zone and they're like, I am the continuation of Alexander the Great. I am the and then they instantly die.
Yeah, they walk into the wrong tent, and there's 3 Navy SEAls with a bunch of blood that they stole from their fellow soldiers that they're gonna sell on the black market. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to murder you now." And they're like, "What? What's up?"
Yeah, that's if they're lucky. If they're unlucky, they like just literally just call in a fucking F-16 strike on themselves and are like, "Whoops, I am the Thermopylae." That's what he calls the 300. Like the Thermopylae. But yeah, the Navy SEAL, meanwhile, is stealing literally everything at the forward operating base.
Yes.
And that's what this guy did.
So I guess here, this bizarre, untold story of a call to arms that crashed before it launched is drawn from interviews with more than 30 Maduro opponents and aspiring freedom fighters. I love that the AP just slips that in there. Aspiring freedom fighters.
They never give up. I love this coup attempt because it reminds me, like, Syria was just like, the media operation of Syria was just like, it was like a low boil for like 2 years. And then eventually they just fucking gave up. But this, like, Venezuela with the State Department and the CIA is just like every few months they try it again. And this time, like, they've totally given up. They don't give a shit. But every once in a while, the copy in an AP story or something, it does show that, you know, like a year ago, they were told to refer to the Venezuelan opposition as freedom fighters. But they've just totally given up on this one. They did one go, and it was the dumbest man in the country saying, "I'm president," and it didn't work. Yeah. And they're like, "All right, fuck it."
Yeah, they're really a lot like reluctant husbands getting dragged to couples therapy every like 4 months and just not saying anything and stewing, and then not going back until they just get nagged into it. Yeah, because like they came home with like perfume on or something.
Yeah.
It says planning for the incursion began after an April 30th, 2019 barracks revolt by a cadre of soldiers who swore loyalty to Maduro's would-be replacement, Juan Guaido, the opposition leader recognized by the U.S. and some 60 other nations as Venezuela's rightful leader. Contrary to U.S. expectations at the time, key Maduro aides never joined with the opposition, and the government quickly quashed the uprising. I mean, this is, again, straight out of the like State Department CIA handbook, where it's just like, and then the people will join us.
Yeah.
And the people will rise up. This is another really great detail here. It says, a few weeks later, some soldiers and politicians involved in the failed rebellion retreated to the JW Marriott in Bogota.
I love that part.
The fucking Warren Zevon song. Jesus Christ.
I fucking love that part.
Send lawyers, guns, and room service.
I love the guy. Like all of the mercs that they sent into Venezuela are in a Colombian jungle right now, dying of coronavirus, just without any food or water, or like half of them have been probably tortured to death. And the guys who planned it, they're just like, well, we retreated to the conference room at the Marriott. We're chilling with the Wyndham Wizard right now in one of those really shitty.
I wonder why when these guys pull their moves, the people don't join them. I mean, they're so they emit such a sense that they could be trusted and that they're not going to let you hanging at the first sign of trouble.
Did you hear about the guys who like this was earlier in the failed coup attempt news? The guys who were in Colombia, the mercs, who were like, yeah, they were supposed to pay our rent and they like didn't.
Oh right,
we're getting evicted.
They're getting kicked out of their apartment.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Death squads are going on rent strike.
Yo, we need to go found me for the death squad. It's just like it's the perfect like 21st century coup attempt because it's like the intelligence community or all that, like if they were competent, the brutal way they could do these, it's so terrifying. Like what they could do with mass information and just the communications abilities we have now. It's a terrifying idea what they could do just in toppling governments. But what it actually is, it mirrors everything that's bad about now. Everything is sort of shoddily done. It's the coup equivalent of like a cloud restaurant or drop shipping scams.
Yeah. But the thing is, sometimes it'll work if they push against a rotten enough door. If they're going against a regime that hasn't successfully built popular legitimacy, it can actually work, Bolivia. But it's still very shoddy and very depressingly oafish. And that's what makes it even more depressing when it actually succeeds.
So it says here, for this occasion, conference rooms were reserved for what one participant described as the Star Wars summit of anti-Maduro goofballs. Military deserters accused of drug trafficking, shady financiers, and former Maduro officials seeking redemption.
Well, okay, this is though, I like that aesthetic detail because as we remembered from our reviewing of the prequels, a lot of those sets did look like shitty hotels. Like they
they all look like
they had flame
like
retardant carpets and it just looks like shit.
Awful sconces.
The Jedi Council room did look like the conference room they reserved at the JW Marriott in Bogota, Colombia.
Totally. They're really putting me in the scene is what it's just like vaguely sci-fi. There's like continental breakfast, stale bagels. I get it.
Bad coffee. Watto is there.
Oh, Watto's always there. He's always in the background, like the cigarette smoking man. Like the cigarette smoking man.
Well, I mean, really, I would say our Watto now is Guado.
Ooh.
But no, they're the same character because Guado he's the greatest scammer of all time. He fucking.
Okay, we're gonna get into the scam that dude. Oh my god, the fleece that this guy just the fucking con that this guy just ran is legendary.
So all right, legend.
So now we get into I think the hero of this story, and it says here among those angling in the open lobby again of the Marriott in Bogota was Jordan Goudreau, an American citizen and 3-time Bronze Star recipient for bravery in Iraq and Afghanistan, where he served as a medic in the U.S. Army Special Forces, according to 5 people who met with a former soldier. Those he interacted with in the U.S. and Colombia described him in interviews alternately as a freedom-loving patriot, a mercenary, and a gifted warrior scarred by battle and in way over his.
Who is this poet that they asked for a description?
The AP really surprises you sometimes. It's wonderful.
This former Green Beret is a 5-star pimp.
Yeah, no, it says.
Well, I mean, like I get the positive and I get the negative, but like the third one it just sounds like a character description for like a pitch, you know? Read it again.
Well, the thing is, half the articles written now for magazines and newspapers are basically veiled pitches to be Netflix series.
Yeah,
or movies,
that's true.
so.
Right?
Amber, I'm going to read this again.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this, listener, co-host, Imagine that we are all on cocaine together in Los Angeles.
Got it, done.
I'm talking.
Ready?
I'm talking.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
just spitting rapidly at you
Yes,
about
yes, yes.
your Netflix, and you're going to give me $300 million to do this. Okay, so check this out. Check this out. We're talking about a freedom-loving patriot. He's a mercenary, but he's also a gifted warrior, scarred by battle and in way over his head.
Yes.
I'm going to go on. I'm not going to go on.
And they would just
That's the elevator pitch. Here's the copy for you. Put this on the autoplay trailer format. 2 former Special Forces colleagues said that Goudreau was always at the top of his class, a cell leader with superb intellect for handling sources, an amazing shot, and a devoted mixed martial arts fighter who still cut his hair hot and tight. How about that for a character? That's gold, baby. That's money in the bank.
yes.
Chris Pine, Chris Pratt, Chris Evans.
The Chris's.
Get in there.
And you know what? They would do it too. They would just throw money at us because they over at Netflix are also on cocaine.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
That is the house that cocaine built.
Were you aware that Goudreau was a devoted mixed martial arts fighter?
I was.
I mean, doesn't that make sense though?
I mean, like mixed martial art. There's this thing called. I'm not going to go into the whole things of what army combatives is, but it's like it's what the army calls their MMA. It is funny that they call it like a different thing.
So like that's like our Krav Maga.
It's such a like 6-year-old thing. Like you just have MMA and you're like, actually it's called combatives and it's different because it's for the army.
It's a tactical version.
Yeah. But I don't know. He'd probably get signed to the UFC. There have been more ignominious
They love
signings.
troops, I'm assuming.
Well, they would have these events every year that were called UFC Fight for the Troops that were held at a military base. And they were awesome because I think it was because the fighters were like, I got to put on a show for the troops. And they would it was the most violent outcomes you'd ever seen.
Who could have predicted? Who could have possibly predicted?
The troops would get their favorite thing, which is like a bald millionaire from Las Vegas coming out there and being like, you guys are the real fucking fighters.
All right, Matt, are you ready for this detail?
Hell yes.
It's gonna activate your pineal gland, I guarantee you. At the end of an otherwise distinguished military career, the Canadian-born Goudreau was investigated in 2000. Okay, stop right there. I know. Are you thinking about?
I'm thinking.
Motherfucking Bondurant.
I'm thinking Big Pete Bondurant immediately.
Big Pete Bondurant. He's French Canadian. He's a French
Jesus
Canadian
Christ.
mercenary
I wish
thug.
you had told.
This
I
is
wish
straight out of fucking James Elroy.
French Canadians the most powerful race.
Oh, you can't get more powerful. A French redneck is the most powerful syncretic force in the West. You've syncretized because people are like Western man splits off into like 2 fractal like versions of each other, like shadow figures, and they're the redneck and the soy based creature, and the fucking Quebecois is the embodiment of both simultaneously. It's the fully embodied Western man.
And that's the 2 most powerful poles.
Yes.
They're like the French guy is the most alpha of the soy guys.
Yes.
The redneck is
because they're the most developed soy guys. Because the French guys started being soy before anyone else. The French started getting soy in 1789. They had a head start on everybody. So they're the most soy, so they're the most advanced, the most confident, and the most powerful and alpha soy people. And American and North American rednecks are like the most powerful, like troglodytic, like non soy people. It's a fusion that is like it's Damascus steel. It could cut through anything.
Yeah. They're extra firm tofu.
Yes,
they're the greatest. Like my experience with French Canadians, they have literally changed online gaming because they're so racist that they changed reporting mechanisms in every platform.
All right, so like the more details from this guy's life story are incredible, and like honestly, we should write and pitch a fucking like Netflix show about this guy, like a movie about this guy's life. It would be like it would be a version of the version of American Sniper that we've always wanted to see filmed.
Yeah,
right, let's do it.
About the real Chris Kyle, the guy who was a fucking psychotic liar.
Yes,
the funniest character of all time, because he was an actual Navy SEAL who lied about being a Navy SEAL. The most that is the most American.
Valor with unnecessary valor.
Yeah,
it's like being a bank robber who kites checks.
So it says here, at the end of an otherwise distinguished military career, Goudreau was investigated in 2013 for allegedly defrauding the army of $62,000 in housing stipends.
Yes.
What? Wait a minute. Was he secretly living in a La Quinta or something? What was going on?
Well, he's staying at the JW Marriott, Columbia. So it says, after retiring in 2016, he worked as a private security contractor in Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria. Following the Chris Kyle template pretty fucking closely. And if I have to think for even half a second about what he was doing as a private security contractor in Puerto Rico following one of the worst hurricanes in human history. Yeah, so I'm not. Yeah, I will not allow my mind to wander.
Like best case scenario, he's like shooting people who emerge from the tree line near like a power station that he's supposed to be guarding.
Yeah, I mean,
worst case scenario is like organ trafficking.
Yeah, which is very possible.
Yeah.
He is either like anyone who looks at the Lin-Manuel Miranda compound, they're getting darted between the eyes. Worst case, yeah, he's actually getting people new pineal glands.
He's got the hook. He's got the adrenochrome pipeline.
Okay, all right. So another detail here. So he goes. In 2018, he set up Silver Corp USA, a private security firm near his home on Florida's Space Coast, to embed counter-terror agents in schools disguised as teachers. That was his first. That was his first grift after retiring from the military.
This is a Danny McBride film. This has to happen.
No, see, I was thinking 90s rom-com. Right? Like that Drew Barrymore movie where she goes back to high school.
Never
and
been
is basically a pedophile. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
It says here, after defrauding the U.S. military out of $62,000 in housing stipends, his first sort of run at the grift was setting up a private security firm to embed operators in schools designed as teachers. I mean, this is like 21 Jump Street, Never Been Kissed. There's a lot of ripe possibilities where this could go. It says here, the company's website features photos and videos of Goudreau firing machine guns in battle, running shirtless up a pyramid, flying on a private jet, and sporting a military backpack with a rolled-up American flag. Silvercore's website touts operations in more than 50 countries, with an advisory team made up of former diplomats, experienced military strategists, and heads of multinational corporations, none of them named. It claims to have led international security teams for the President of the United States. Goudreau, 43, declined to be interviewed. In a written statement, he said that Silvercore cannot disclose the location, cannot disclose the identities of its networks of sources, assets, and advisors due to the nature of our work, and more generally, would never confirm nor deny any activities in any operational realm. No inference should be drawn from this response. Okay. He said he would not participate with this interview with the AP or comment on their story. However, thanks to a journalist here on Twitter, his name is Giancarlo Fiorella. He has found that this guy was doing interviews with like Latin America, South American media, and there are some even fucking better details that he's giving up in these interviews. So it says here, in this interview, Jordan says, and again, this is coming from Giancarlo Fiorella on Twitter. Jordan says in the interview that the opposition did not hold up its side of the contract, and as such, he's free to talk about it. He says here, he pulls out a contract during the interview that he says was for general services to help the liberation of the country. Quote,
general services, memo. That's what it says on the memo.
Quote, I'm just a guy who's trying to help out a group of people. I'm not a mercenary. I wasn't paid a cent. And as such, I've never seen such backstabbing. So he was...
These hoes ain't loyal.
Jordan went on to say, there's 60 men living in a cemetery in Colombia that is the remnants of his mercenary group, and the Colombian government didn't know about them. And then he said that the Venezuelan opposition hurt us more than helped us, in part because they didn't pay them.
That one sounds like a pitch for a sitcom. All right, guys, there's 60 guys, and they're living in a cemetery.
No, they're living in a cemetery?
Yeah,
you got to end like that.
So every part of this stood out to me, but my first impulse, given that this guy is a Green Beret, was that he's completely lying. They probably live near a cemetery, I presume, or live near something that they think is a cemetery, but is in fact a completely different thing, just like a tree park.
It's a dog walk.
It's a dog walking place, but he's just like, yeah, we live among the pillars of death. Like, I know that, like, the image that he wants is that they all live in mausoleums, and, like, at the end of a long day of war, like, they sit down next to the corpse in the mausoleum, and they're like, you probably had your battles in your day, compadre, but I'm a different soldier walking a dark path. But
yeah, it's like
that's not happening. No one lives in a cemetery. Like, shut the fuck up.
Actually, I hate to bring this up, but living in cemeteries is incredibly common in the third world because they're some of the first facilities to receive any kind of infrastructure like clean running water or electricity. Sorry,
yeah, but
there's a whole documentary about it.
But these guys aren't doing that.
I don't think this guy is. I mean, like, first of all, anytime you throw in a word like backstabbing in there, like you're a Real Housewife or something, everything you said prior to that word is a load of shit.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm just saying people do live in cemeteries.
Well, yeah, but not these guys.
No, nothing that guys. He's just mad at his fake friends, and he's really backstabbing.
Yeah.
So going on here, Jordan said it would be easy to topple Maduro with enough money, and that he just got another 2 texts.
By the way, I can totally do a kickflip.
So it says here, it would be easy to topple Maduro with enough money, and that he, quote, just got another 2 texts from guys who are going to start striking targets. So
I love just like operating CENTCOM from my Verizon phone. Just like striking targets, it usually means like you have a full team, but it's just like 2 assholes. Like, is he just throwing cherry bombs at the presidential palace?
He's siphoning gasoline out of army jeeps. Those are the tactical operations that they're carrying out.
Sir, we have put sugar in the gas tank of Maduro's wife's vehicle.
In my head, this guy has a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
So going on, he says that the opposition never paid him his retainer of $1.5 million, and that probably wouldn't have been enough to do the whole thing. He says the opposition kept promising to pay him week after week, and Jordan says that the operation this morning was the full extent of the invasion as per the contract, and it's all they managed to muster. And he says, this was the operation. This was the only operation. This was it, he said. He went on to say that, of course, the operation, of course, is still ongoing and that cells are activating across the country. And he's getting messages from around Venezuela from people saying, I've got 20 guys with guns who want to fight. So this is like, he's got guys sending, he's like, when he says we have cells that are striking targets inside Venezuela, he means he's getting texts from guys with like the target emoji in it being like, yo, what are we going to do, man? I know a couple guys who have a gun.
This is just an Ohio guy. They are being like bowled over by an Ohio guy. This is amazing.
So it gets even better. He says here,
Quebec is the Ohio of Canada, so that's true.
Gets even better. He says, I've been a freedom fighter my whole life. This is what I do. And then asked why an amphibious attack via La Guayara instead of something more simple, Jordan answers, are you familiar with Alexander the Great?
It's just Ohio guy.
He says Alexander the Great struck deep into the heart of the enemy at the Battle of Guatemala, hence the attack directly at Caracas. And he says, my only wish is that I was on the ground fighting, and that he is presently trying to rectify that. He stresses that there is ongoing fighting and that several other groups in the country have activated. So, I mean, just sort of like the Giancarlo does a little too long, didn't read at the end. Apparently, Juan Guaido signed a contract for him to overthrow the Maduro government for $292 million. He failed to pay the $1.5 million retainer within the first 5 days. So this guy, Jordan Goudreau, got no money and then still put together an amphibious assault because he thought it was what Alexander the Great would have done. I mean, this guy... He
was known for that.
Honestly, like, if Trump isn't aware of this man, he needs to be made aware of him, and he needs to have like a Rose Garden ceremony giving him the Medal of Honor.
Alexander wept for there were no more Wyndham Rewards points to collect.
No, I mean, really, we have to get to work on this right now.
Oh, no,
because
I would
otherwise
write
we
this.
are leaving money on the table.
I would write this
We get Danny
100% with you guys.
McBride,
Yep,
obviously the lead.
yes.
Obviously,
No.
it's amazing.
We could write this. This is just
Imagine the like trailer for it. Alexander the Great. Heard of him?
I have a different idea for this. I think like the easy thing is like movie or miniseries, but I think like you can make this a series where it just like he defrauds like a different NATO member country every week.
Ooh,
he's like Saul Goodman, but for like the deep state.
Exactly. Like a different member of Five Eyes gets completely fleeced every fucking time by him and his gang of imbeciles.
He goes to New Zealand.
But Felix here, he's the one getting fleeced. It's Guaido is fucking running a scam on this asshole. He's launched.
It's levels. Everyone's scamming everyone though.
Yeah. Guaido's just the king.
Yeah.
Like if you get scammed by him, no shame. He's the greatest scammer of all time.
Yeah. It's like Ahmed Chalabi was the king scammer of the Iraq War, but people were also lying to him, and the people who he was lying to were lying to everyone else. Everyone was had his hand in each other's pocket.
What I like about Jordan here is that, like, yes, this is like he is a pure lying guy, and like each one of his schemes and ideas are more harebrained than the last. But the fact that he went ahead with this fucking idiotic amphibious assault on Caracas, despite not even getting paid his retainer, shows me that this guy is in it for the love of the game. He just loves being a freedom fighter.
All great con artists at some point believe the con. That's what makes it effective.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we've talked about that, how the most powerful type of guy is the snake oil salesman who believes in his own snake oil.
Yeah.
That's the best guy. You can't truly sell anyone unless you truly believe in it. And this guy does believe in it.
He just loves being a mercenary.
Yeah.
Just loves it.
Well, he doesn't even, that's what I love. He like refuses to even say he's fully a mercenary.
Yeah,
He
says, I'm a guy looking to help a group of people out.
Yeah.
I'm just there's one guy trying to help a group of people.
That could be any job. That could be a plumber describing their work. It's so vague.
Yeah. You're going to have to get more specific, and then you land on the definition of mercenary.
Yes.
Look, I do some things for some people. What are the things? They involve guns, yes. Who are the people? They are people who pay me, yes. I like to refer to myself as a conditori. Like, bitch, you're a mercenary.
So you can see why I'm pleased to share this story with you guys. A sort of a ray of sunshine amidst our sort of the dark clouds that have gathered.
I have to say that I will be thinking about this man's shenanigans and antics and what kind of hilarious stunts he could get into on a weekly basis from now on. I would definitely watch this on a premium streaming service.
Think about the episode where they try to defraud Germany and they like Germany's bureaucratic culture makes it too difficult.
Yes, it's too formal. And like they don't
He's not good at paperwork. They bury him in paperwork.
And they don't really process like figurative language, so they can't really get like his big sweeping statements because they're too literal minded. And he goes to New Zealand and tries to convince them that he can like take a dinghy full of guns and like liberate Tasmania from Australia.
Yeah.
On behalf of New Zealand.
But he actually just does it like alone.
Yeah. And then he accidentally becomes the Hobart mass shooter. Oh no.
He accidentally starts the second Emu War.
and loses it.
Yeah.
He goes to Australia and like whips up the government to do something about the emus, and then like through a bunch of shenanigans and mistakes and him getting scammed by people and him scamming other and ripping it off, it ends up with just him in a technical driving around the outback trying to shoot birds. It's like the end of Aguar, the Wrath of God.
Yeah, and no spoilers, but at some point the bird gets the upper hand.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, he will lose the war.
Okay,
he will lose the war.
The Australian birds will have the upper hand until Jordan Goudreau makes his most important alliance of all time, the domestic house cat.
Yeah, Australia, they have no natural resistance to that.
Okay, so here's another really funny thread to this guy's, aborted. The operator is aborted operation here. Is that like all last week, guys like John Bolton were tweeting. I'm reading this here just from his Twitter account. To this day, the significant foreign military presence in Venezuela denies the will of the people. The strongest possible sanctions must remain until the peaceful transition of power and Juan Guaido, Venezuela's rightful interim president, and the Venezuelan people are firmly in control. Morning is coming to Venezuela again. And I just like to think that, like, when they were tweeting this, they were like, he was thinking, like, yeah, we've got this. The operation is commencing right now. People don't know about it, but, I know. I'm in the know. The guys, they're doing their amphibious assault. It's going down. And then they just end up in a cemetery in Colombia, and, like, the planners are stuck in a fucking Marriott hotel being like, oh, wait, these 300 guys weren't enough to start an uprising against against Maduro. So, that is a soon to be a major motion picture courtesy of Chapo Trap House Productions.